Hey everybody packed in. Let me properly introduce our guests. Okay, so this is Alex Hermosi from Gym Launch. Okay, so listen to me, guys. This is the all-time biggest internet marketer for fitness there ever was. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen in just a second here, and you guys have heard me say this. One of my all-time favorite entrepreneurs is Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. Russell Brunson calls Alex Hermosi the best sales guy that he knows. He said it to you one time on a vlog. Okay, so this is a big dude. I just said this not too long ago. I ran into a situation being 6 months ago. I was feeling a little caved in. Somebody said some stuff, a couple people said some stuff. I'm like, yo, right. Alex, I'm facing this dude. What's your opinion? And he basically told me what I kind of knew, which was like, dude, it don't matter what people say about you, it matters what you say about you. And if there's a little bit of truth to what they're saying, that's when it hurts. So if you know like what you're doing, what you stand for, none of that shit matters. And dude, I snapped out of it. Okay. So you guys know, some of the stuff I've been able to achieve. Oh yeah. This is a guy that I'm like, dude, this is like a big bro. This guy right here is the real deal. And he's here today. He had a surgery and he's like, Mike, whatever I can do to, support the community, drop some gems, inspire, like I'm here. I got a presentation. If not, I'm going to share my story, whatever you need, I'm here. So, Alex Hermosi from Gym Launch. These are $25 million plaques. The one behind
let me give you the updated one. Let me give you the updated one, bro. I got all four. I got all four, bro.
$100 million.
Fourth one.
This is the Michael Jackson. Usually they say the Michael Jordan, but these are like plaques. This is the Michael Jackson of internet marketing, guys. Big freaking deal. So Alex from Gym Launch, bro. Welcome, man. Good to see you. You kind of jacked.
Either way, Alex Becker, who's the founder of that, clued me in recently to something. He's like, dude, your ROAS is insane, because he can see everyone's revenue and their ad spend. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, you have the highest return on ad spend of everyone in the entire platform by like a mile. And I didn't really ever think about it, but our lifetime return on advertising is 36-1. So to do over, 100 and now, 5 or 10 million, whatever we're at now, we've spent just under $3 million in advertising. And so there's a lot of other pieces to, making more, but just for everyone on this call, we're talking specifically about sales, correct?
Yes? Yeah. So Alex,
yeah.
99% of these guys are closers. Sweet. And they're getting closing positions. A couple of people are starting like a closer agency where they partner up with a guy like you. And they're like, hey, let's do like a little JV deal. I slam your deals.
Okay, sweet. Well then, why don't so what I'm going to do is, because I do have a presentation, which is just how I think about sales. And I have the third part of the presentation about scaling sales teams. Does anyone here have multiple closers who work for them? Or is most people just closing on your own right now?
You guys got to talk with Alex. He don't bite.
I also can't see the chat. I can't see the chat either.
We're working towards that, Alex.
Okay, so how about this? I'll give you the things that, Russell, when I first met him, was like, dude, how did you learn how to sell so well? And it was because I looked at my CRM and I'd done 4,000 sales one-on-one in fitness. And so that's a lot of reps. I was taking 20 consults a day for like 4 years. And so that's in person, face-to-face. My team would double or triple book me every 30 minutes. And I just sold the same thing over and over again. And because I was really good at sales, I ended up not hiring a ton of salespeople, and I would actually have my managers set appointments for me all at one location. So I had 6 gyms. And so I would go there, they'd stack up an entire day. I'd mow down a whole day, go to a different gym, and they'd been stacking all the appointments, and I'd mow down. And so usually I'd do 20 to 25 consults a day. And you just get these reps in of reading people, gauging tonality, and seeing where you need to lean in and where you need to lean back. And so, over time, I've then started training salespeople and sales managers. I had a remote sales team. We'd fly out and do turnarounds, like in person. So I had 8 guys. We'd fly out to 8 facilities every month, and we turn these facilities around. Because I know, Mike, you were in the fitness world before this.
That's right.
And then I brought that sales team in-house, and they started doing phone sales for high ticket. So I've had in-person, phone, high ticket, low ticket. We've kind of done a lot of those things. I trained mortgage leads teams. So kind of the whole gambit. And there's definitely some things that I've seen. I've brought every sales product on the market. I bought Grant stuff, bought Balfour stuff. And I think there's a lot of merit and there's a lot of good stuff out there. But in my experience, simplicity is what scales. And so I'll give you, if you're okay with it, I'll give you the few things that I have implemented consistently within my companies that have generated outsized returns. Is that cool? All right.
That's awesome.
So what I'm going to do, let's rock and
Yeah.
roll.
Let's get this.
All right. Full jam. So as I said, simplicity, right? I'm the world's best graphic designer, as you can see here. So I'm trying to show the real keys of the kingdom. So everybody here selling expensive stuff? Is that most people on this call?
Yes.
Everything's high ticket, Alex.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
Absolutely.
Everyone still see me? And the screen?
Yep.
All right, rock and roll. All right, so I'm guessing this isn't your first rodeo, not your first presentation with a sexy headline or a big promise. And so if you have failed for you guys to grow your thing in the past, I promise you it's not your fault. Lots of information, very confusing. And you can sometimes be inundated with lots of different salespeople's information. You've got Mike here, who's a gem and knows his shit, and you guys are lucky to have him. But hopefully in this presentation, I will put some of those fears to rest of like, what if I never make it? What if I never turn this corner and become the salesperson I want? What if I never hit the 100 grand a year? What if I never hit the 100 grand a month? Or what if I don't hit the $1 million a month goal that I have? And then what does that mean about me, right? If you've ever thought those things, like I can tell you, I did too. Right after the instance that I had Mike with that individual, and that individual drained my entire bank account and then sent it to their girlfriend in Sweden and then filed bankruptcy. After that happened, I had $1,200 because I had sold all my gyms and put my money into that account. So I started at zero, which I'm very grateful for because it gave me the experience that I have now. And so what I'm going to show you is that you can have a simple sales process that can yield outsized returns. A lot of people like to make this fancy because it makes it easier to sell stuff to people about selling. But these are the things that I have seen that have unlocked the growth for us, because I don't think I'm the best marketer out there. I think we've simply attached a phone to a funnel, and we've been very efficient at it. And so as a result of that, I've always been able to make more per customer than anyone else because of how efficient we are at the conversion process. All right. And so that's what we're here for. So I want to show you exactly step-by-step our process for selling. All right. And so there should be two types of people here. Some of you guys who are under $100,000 a month, and I'll show you how to never compete on price again. All right. And if you guys are over $100,000 a month, I'll show you exactly what we did to scale a team to get to $1 million a month and beyond. Is that cool? Because if you're under 100, it's just you, right? If you're over 100, you need people. All right. So it's going to kind of be like the actual selling itself and then the scaling of the sales. All right. So that's kind of the goal for the 60 minutes. I'll probably be able to get it done in 40-ish. I'll talk fast so we can have some time. All right. Everyone can just listen fast. Is that all right? All right. I'm going to go fast.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I've been really fortunate. Yeah, now we're at 105 or 110 or whatever it is in selling stuff, which has been cool. What's been cooler is we've been able to donate to causes. You guys don't know my story, but I had a gym teacher after school who stayed with me. He didn't have to. He didn't know me from anybody. And he worked out with me for an entire year and taught me how to work out because I was like a really insecure kid. And as a result of that, I got into fitness. And so I feel like it's all of our opportunity because a lot of you guys are on here like, we're already in the top 1% in the world. You know what I mean? Like we're bitching about not making 100 grand a month. Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like really. And so it's been a great privilege to be able to give back. You know, we've donated 1.4 million just in the last 3 years, actually 1.7 now. I have to update that. But anyways, just to causes that we care about. And so for us, it's kids being able to have the opportunity that we had. All right. And if you guys are in the fitness industry, Arnold was my hero, is the reason I quit my job. And I've been able to, grow a friendship with him, which has been awesome. And we've had, over 1,000 clients hit $100,000 a year using the sales framework I'm going to show you. All right. So like, you can imagine that these people are not maybe as good as you are. You can imagine that somebody in that 1,000 is probably not as naturally talented, right? So the process works. Okay. And we've got a lot of people over 7 figures now. But it wasn't that way, right? So this is me when I started my first gym. I slept on the floor. I had $5,000 total. My rent was $5,000. And so I had 1 month that I had to learn how to make money. And I built a funnel because I learned this from the internet. And I sent this picture to my dad because I was so excited. I was so proud of this picture because I sold that many people in the first 2 weeks for free. And things started to grow, right? That was one of my gyms. I had 9 employees. I felt like a badass. My dad finally told me he thought I, wasn't a schmuck for, being an idiot and getting into fitness. So I felt like I was figuring things out. And then all of a sudden, Facebook slap happened. This is years ago, and there's been many slaps. Facebook just kind of has its bitch hand proverbially swinging back and forth. But we got slapped, and overnight my lead cost went up 5x, right? And so my money making rain turned into a desert. And the thing was, my marketing was losing money every day. And all I could think about was letting my dad down, and more realistically, having my dad be right. I'm gonna, all right, cool. And so the question that I asked myself was like, how can I afford to get more leads, right? And so I called all my friends up, and he was a brick and mortar gym owner, and he told me that things were going great for him. And I was like, what the hell, dude? What are you doing? And he was like, dude, we just attached a phone to the funnel. And I was like, no shit. He's like, we're selling expensive stuff on the front end now instead of selling trials. And I was like, well, that's cool. I'll do that. And so we went from losing 2 to 1 to making 10 to 1 return on the front end, right? And what that meant for my business is I went from being able to break even at $10 a lead to being able to spend up $100 a lead and still make money, which is crazy, right? And so then things started to grow again for me. And then we, opened location after location, and things grew. And I met this guy, and I joined his mastermind. And I told him I wanted to create a nationwide gym chain. And he said, you should teach other people how you do what you do and not grow that chain. And I was like, well, you make more money than me, so okay, I'll listen. And so then I started making doing our marketing system. Mike, this is, by the way, at that guy's gym. Did 191 signups in 19 days, and that was the stack of contracts. Some of you guys may have seen this. It was like the most run ad for like a year and a half. But we did, I don't know, $100,000 in 19 days in sales, like in the ghetto. All right. So these are the 3 frameworks. Sorry, I sped through that because we had already covered a little bit of my story early, so I wanted to get through it. And these are the 3 frameworks that I kind of discovered to scale high ticket. All right. And it'll take, if you're partnering with someone, then it'll help take their losing funnels and turn them into cash machines. And I mean that genuinely. All right. So the 3 frameworks that I do is, one is the closure framework. All right. These are the questions that get prospects to say yes. All right. And so adding this to any funnel process is going to instantly make it more profitable. All right. And I'm going to walk through the questions that we ask, and specifically only 3 things that you can say on a sales call, period. It's the #1 mistake that all the sales guys, that even my guys, make, and I have to remind them of. All right. The second thing is the conviction framework. So anyone who believes can outperform a seasoned sales rep by simply learning to control their tone. All right. So some of you guys right now, can I get a hand? I'm going to unshare my screen real quick. Can I get hands on the screen of who here is newer to this? Newer to high ticket sales. Okay, great. Perfect. Then this is for you. I'm going to show you how you can beat the best sales reps. All right. And this is how I never, ever hire seasoned closers. Just FYI. No, it's not like we're going to training salespeople, so I don't. But I'm going to show you how you can beat seasoned pros. All right.
All right.
Which, if I can find my presentation, there we go. By learning to control your tone. And the last one is scaling. So for all of you guys who are over $100,000 a month and need to scale a team, I'm going to show you how to duplicate the skill in other people. All right. Because it's one level of the skill is learning to sell. Another level of the skill is teaching to sell. And it's a more valuable skill. So if you can duplicate your skill in someone else, that is how you can make 10 times, 100 times more money, because you're no longer constrained by your time. All right. So let's rock and roll. Closure framework. So after pouring over like hundreds of scripts, hundreds of scripts, I realized that there was always like these minor differences in wording, but if I hit these kind of main milestones along the way, I ended up closing the sale, right? And the nice thing is that this process works for B2C and B2B. So I don't know what stuff you're selling, but it works for both. And it worked for $500 tickets as much as $100,000 tickets. The process is the same, all right? And the way I teach my sales teams and now thousands of clients is this acronym, right? And like, even when I'm thinking through sales calls, we're like closer, C, right? L. So the C is clarify why the person is on the phone with you, all right? That's the objective. Why are you here? Why'd you take the time to take the call? What's the problem, right? What are we trying to solve here? After that, they were like, got it. So what I'm hearing is you're struggling with this. Does that sound about right? I'm going to label you with a problem. After that, we overview their past pain. So it's like, okay, so you have this problem. I can't be the first person you've talked to about this. Tell me a little bit about what you've done so far to try and get past this, right? Tell me more about that. How'd that work out for you? Okay, understood. After that, it's like, okay, so I'm hearing all these things. This is why you're here. This is what you're trying to get. This is what you've tried and it hasn't worked. Okay, well, can I tell you about how I think we might be able to solve your problem? This is where we sell the vacation, right? And then finally, or step before finally, we explain away their concerns. So this is where we tell them about the program, and then we're like, do you want to do it? They say yes or no. If they say no, then we explain away their concerns so they say yes. And then once they say yes, we reinforce the decision. And this last R here is a point that I added years later, because we realized that the sale just continues throughout the entire customer relationship, right? And so for you guys, if you're dealing with clients, who you're selling for, you have to also sell them on continuously selling, right? You might have closed the card or closed the first payment, but their onboarding experience, they got to close them again. And then after that, when they have their first week check-in call, they got to get closed again, because we have to consistently sell them on why they should do anything. Why should they not just watch Netflix? Why should they take action? Why should they have the discomfort of getting, smacked on the phone by a stranger, right? Why should they feel the sting of failure? We have to sell them consistently to help them overcome their pains, right? And so I'll show you each one of these more closely. So clarifying why they're there, right? It's like, what made you come in today? What made you reach out? What's your goal right now? Why is that important to you, right? Okay, helping me understand what are we doing here, right? This is one where someone in the beginning, like, you have to hit this, because if someone says like, I just wanted to find out more information, you're like, cool, but why? Like, what did you want the information to solve? What was I'm sure you don't just go around collecting information all day, right? Like, there's something you're trying to get out of this. What's the problem? And then you get what you need. You're like, got it. Okay. So just so I'm hearing you right, it sounds like this is your goal, correct? Then they acknowledge they have a problem. This is important because they have to say it. They have to own it. I can't cure cancer until you admit that you have it, right? We got to give it to you before we can cure it. After that, we overview the past, right? So it's like, what have you tried so far to accomplish this? How long did you do it for? How long ago? How did that work for you? What else have you tried? We call this the pain cycle, right? We consistently do this over and over again until we've exhausted all options, right? At that point, we have tons of ammo that we can use later in the close, which I'm sure you're aware of, right? And the big piece here is we explain how it's not their fault, because if they had this missing piece or two of the equation, they were halfway there. They were 3/4 of the way there. They were just missing this one piece, which we're going to provide for them, right? And the nice thing is for most of you, hopefully you're selling a holistic solution, right? So for example, I'm going to use a fitness example because Mike's from that background too. If someone came in and said they tried workouts in the past, I'm gonna be like, I'm not telling you that you don't need to work out. It's great, but you also need the nutrition and the accountability, right? You need nutrition to make sure they stop eating shit, because if you just start working out and eating donuts, it's not going to work, right? Of course. Now, if I make you the best plan in the world, but you don't follow, it's not going to work either. That's why you need the accountability, and that's what I'm here for. And so from that point, that's kind of how you can naturally transition. So it's like, I'm hearing these things. This is what you were missing. Well, do you want to hear how the program works? Because I think we might be able to solve that for you. They'll say yes. All right, so what we've seen is that there's 3 things that make clients successful, right? And at this point, this is my belief, is that 3 things has been, unequivocal in most pitches, is that I think it's human brain is that you can't take more than 3. But typically it's like 3 pillars to the stool, or 3, fit, nutrition, accountability. If I was selling leads, I'd want them to be, timely, qualified, and, exclusive. Right? So there'll be 3 elements to make what makes a good lead, right? There's always 3 that you can usually find when you're selling a solution. And most times, not most times, every time, if you're on the phone with the prospect, you always have the upper hand, because they have admitted at the beginning of this phone call that they have a problem. They have not solved it. And so inherently, they're going to be missing one of the keys. They cannot have them all, or they would not be on the phone. So you are in an unlosable situation unless you choose to lose it, right? Unless you choose to lose the frame. And so in this instance, it has been my experience that we use stories, short anecdotal stories, to break the belief of the prospect around a topic. What's important here is that we don't get into jargon, right? We don't get into technobabble and talking about the program and the modules and the things they're going to do, because all of that sounds like work. And that's not what they're there for. They're there for a result, right? And so instead, I would say something like, with the fitness, nutrition, accountability, like I said earlier. So if I was trying to explain accountability, I'd be like, listen, you don't have accountability. When you were a kid, you ever have your parents tell you to brush your teeth? They were like, yeah. I'm like, how you're like, no, I don't want to. And they would tell you, oh no, you got to go brush your teeth. And you go and you brush your teeth and you sulk back to bed. And next night you do the same thing. They tell you brush your teeth, you go brush your teeth, go back to bed. But you're an adult now, right? You brush your teeth? And they're like, yeah. And that's because you had external accountability that turned into an internal habit. Right? And that's what we're going to do for you here, right? So I didn't tell them about fucking the coaching call that they're going to have and the post that they're going to have and the blah, blah, blah. What we told them is the result of that. We gave them an anecdotal story that made sense to them. That's probably a really key point I just want to drive home here, is that when you have your pitch part, it shouldn't be longer than 3 minutes, like tops, because no one really gives a shit. And at the end of the day, the reason they're going to buy is going to be because of how understood they feel. So how much, when you went through that overview of the pain, you were able to restate back to them accurately exactly how they felt and the struggles they are experiencing, which is why you need to shut the fuck up when they're talking, right? And so there's only 3 things that are ever said on a sales call. Do you guys know what they are? There's only 3 things that ever come out of your mouth. Questions, restatements, and anecdotal stories, which is the story that I just referenced. The 3 stories that you will use to break a belief. That's it. So that's how you sell them the vacations. You have these little sound bites, right? I'll give you another example. So if I was doing food, right? I'm like, listen, 3 parts of the program, fitness, nutrition, accountability. So nutrition wise, you've got to eat stuff that's going to make you lose weight. Can we agree on that? Yes. Okay, cool. But the problem is you don't want to do that, right? That's why we're here, right? Right. Okay. So let me ask you a question. When, do you feel like, what's your favorite TV show? They're going to be like, whatever, Game of Thrones. And you're like, okay, Game of Thrones. Do you feel like you need to get like motivated to watch Game of Thrones? You're like, man, I was trying to watch it tonight, but I just couldn't, you know, I got really busy and I just couldn't sit down on the couch and turn the TV on. I couldn't do it, right? Of course not. Because you look forward to it because you wanted to do it. And the key that we're going to do here is we're going to get you to look forward to the foods that you're eating. Because if you look forward to it, you don't need to be motivated because you do it on your own because you like it. Does that make sense? Great. So what I didn't talk about the macros and the carb cycling and the intermittent fasting and the calorie counting and the blah, 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 because at the end of the day, that does not matter. What they want is for them to solve the problem and have it be pain-free, right? And that's what we're explaining to them. So that's selling the vacation, right? And this is a saying that I've used for a long time, which is sell the vacation, not the plane flight, right? And so this is what everyone else talks about. They're like, sir, for us to get you these results, you're going to have to take your pants off. You're going to have to jump through this loop. You're going to have to go through the TSA, the airport lines, pack your suitcases, take your shoes off, do the layovers, connect your flights, have a person farting next to you. Don't worry, they don't have COVID. You'll have turbulence probably on the plane. Then as soon as you're out, you think you're done, but you still have to wait at baggage claim. They probably lost your bag, right? And in our world, it's your modules, your meal plan, your macros, your workouts, your support team, your URLs, your domains, your funnels, your targeting, your ads, and the other shit that doesn't matter, right? But instead, what they want is you sell Maui, final destination. And you always sell the same thing because the difference is only the level of service and how they want to get there, right? If you have multiple levels of service. So do they want to swim to Maui to where they're trying to go? There's sharks and you could drown or get robbed, right? Like this chick, crazy. Do they want to take a boat to Maui? It'll take a little longer, but there's no shark attacks, but there's still no Wi-Fi and you're kind of, in the sun. Do you want to take a normal flight to Maui? Get there a little faster. Still smells bad, has security, bad food, but you're going to get there. Or do you want to take a private jet to Maui, right? Direct, nonstop, champagne on the plane, suitcases packed when you arrive, right? And so that's the selling piece. E is explaining away their concerns. And so these are the questions that sound like, so there's, I'm sure Mike has already taught you a lot of the obstacle overcome concepts, right? So fundamentally, there's 3 big ones, right? Price. And rather than teach you like the drilling of the obstacles, I told you there's 2 things you need to memorize. One of them are the stories. The second are the obstacle overcomes, all right? Because those are the things that you're in the red zone. Like that's not where you start thinking about what you're going to say, all right? So the 2 things that you need to memorize as a salesperson are the stories about what you sell and the obstacles that you're going to encounter when you're in the red zone. The questions on the front end, you need to know the milestones you need to hit in order to move forward. And this is one of the big mistakes I'm sure Mike talks about a lot, which is you need to sit in the pain. If someone does not clarify why they need a solution, you do not ask for the sale. If we just say, hey, what brought you to here today? I just want to find out more information. Okay, cool. So, let me tell you about the program. Like we didn't get the fucking, like, we don't know why they're there. We don't know what their goals are. Like one of the things that drives me nuts about my team sometimes is I'm like, dude, we're 8 minutes in the conversation. I was like, I don't know how many clients they have. I don't know what their revenue is. I don't know what their profit is. I don't know what their biggest pain and struggle was right now. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, you just told them. They're like, oh, Gym Launch is a $100 million company. I'm like, they don't give a shit. But they do. My sales guys, because they get their egos puffed up, right? But it has nothing to do with the prospect. They do not care, right? They only care about them. So, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the issue, right? Everyone talks way too much about the product. And so when you're training salespeople, you don't train them on the product. You train them on the prospect. The product doesn't matter. I mean, it matters obviously from like how you're going to make money because you have to do a good job, because I'm going to get that in the second point. But in terms of when you are selling and training someone, if you guys know someone or know a specific niche really well, then you will know their pains. And if you have a new salesperson, you hear them say shit and you're like, that's not what he thinks. What is he doing? He might know the product perfectly, but he just said that the guy's problem was not the problem. And so then it doesn't matter what the product is because he doesn't feel like it's for him, even though it's totally for him, but you just misarticulated the problem. That's where the clarity has to happen. If you nail that, the rest of the pitch is easy. All right. And so the key here is relying on past agreements that have already been made. So this person with their partner, with their spouse, with their business, whatever, that person knows that there's a problem. And they also don't approve of that problem. And so why would they be in any way against remedying a problem that they already don't approve of? Right? And then finally, we always tack on, sometimes it's better ask for forgiveness than permission, right? Ha ha ha. Depends on the ticket sale, right? But you can get those in, right? And then obviously last case here is you just do a delayed close and say, let's get your card down. We can put a down payment. We can pay the rest on Friday. And if between now and then, your partner comes back and says, no, man, I want to be poor. I want to keep struggling. And like, I want to never make money and like continue to do this for the rest of our lives, then I'll absolutely tear up the contract. Don't worry about it. Right. Finally, you've got stalls, right? I need to think about it. So these are because people are afraid of making mistakes, right? People are afraid of making mistakes. And because of that, they don't like making decisions because it's easier to let life make the decision for you. And so they like doing it that way because then they feel like it's not their fault, right? And so, I mean, a great obstacle over for this is, what's your main concern? Which is usually my number one thing I go to when someone's like, I need to think about it. It's like, totally, what's your main concern, right? Let's think about it together, right? And so fundamentally, these are the things that they need to know. Do you feel like what we're doing can meet your needs and solve the problem? Yes or no? Yes. Do you want to work with us as a company? Do you like our values? Do you like what we stand for? Do you believe what we believe about the world? Yes. Do you have access to funds or know someone who does? Yes. Well, then let's rock and roll, because those are the only things we know to me that make the decision, right? Do you like the product? Do you like us? And do you have the money to do it? That's it. Simple as that. All right. And so when we walk through those, if you encounter these situations, obviously there's, if you're going to do it now sooner or later, you might as well, there's plenty of things to say, but I think it's more important to understand the theory behind why someone has this objection, right? They have an objection around price because they don't see the value because you didn't articulate it. They have an objection around decision maker, usually because you fucked something up earlier in the sale, but at this point you're in the red zone, so you got to deal with it. So you rely on past agreements. If they come with a stall, then you help them confront a decision and make a logical choice and teach them how to make a decision that in that moment, you say, what are you most afraid of happening? I'm afraid of you're afraid of me taking the money, right? Just taking your money and you getting nothing, right? Again. Well, let me tell you how that's not going to happen, right? You can bring their concerns. All right. And then finally they say yes. And you're like, awesome. And this is where, if you're selling for someone else, get them to send a personalized video like, hey, Johnny, saw you just signed up with us today. Super pumped to have you. You're going to be meeting with Heather tomorrow. She's going to get you kicked off. You should in the mail get a special gift. So keep a lookout for that. And then, send a handwritten card. If someone just bought a really expensive thing, people are making their decision about whether they believe in you as a company within the first 48 hours after the sale. They make a decision of whether or not they're going to be with you in the long term and how they are treated in the first 48 hours after they give you money. So it's critical. And it's usually in that point that people fuck up and just ignore them. Framework 2. And, Mike, I can stop. I'll just do framework 2 and then we can do the Q&A, because if I don't have time to scale the sales teams, I can hit on the points later. So this is a big one for everyone who's newer to sales. All right. If you believe you can outperform a seasoned sales rep by learning to control your tone. All right. And so I reworked all of our scripts into the closer framework. And the thing is immediately some people were crushing it, right? While others were still not selling shit. And I was like, what the fuck, right? And so I talked to my friends and they were like, dude, you should read this book by Jordan Belfort. And the biggest thing that I got from the book was just, he was very specific about tonality. And that was a big shift for me in just learning to teach how to ask the question, not just asking the question, right? And so in the book, he talks about having the same issue that I had with scaling sales. It's like, I give the script to 2 guys, some guy crushes, some guy doesn't. I'm like, what the fuck, right? And the thing is there's a hidden dialogue that the sales team does not know that they are talking in, right? And so the words are not going to be enough, all right? They're just literally 10%. So the words that you have, it might be the most tested script in the world, it's still only 10%. 90% is how you say the words, right? Because how you say what you say is tonality. Like right now, I could give everyone here's, Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up script. You could read it. It wouldn't be funny, right? Because it's not just that you had the script, it's how you deliver it, right? And that takes time to develop, right? And that's kind of unconscious mastery. And so there's 2 ways to do this, all right, that I have found. You can either trick yourself into it or you can train yourself to do it. All right. And since we don't have enough time to train on the influence of tonalities, here's the trick that I teach. All right. Conviction will correct your tone. Conviction made real. So let me tell you this story. So I was brought in to do a day of consulting for this mortgage leads company to train their sales team. And the first half of the day, I reworked the whole script. I put the closer framework, made it a question-based sale. And then I came in and they were expecting me to like rain, fire and brimstone on these guys. And so I sat down and I was like, who's the guy you're having the most trouble with? It was this guy, John. So I was like, John. And they were selling leads. I was like, John, how good are the leads? He was like, well, and I was like, we're good, thanks. And I was like, let me show you how you would answer it if you actually believed that the leads were good. I was like, you'd say like, dude, these leads are fucking unbelievable. Right now, I'm studying for my real estate exam so I can get in on these leads. My aunt is a realtor and she has more business than she can handle. And I'm sending her traffic. I'm trying to get my brother to do it with me. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna work here because these leads are killing it for us, right? If you believe in the product, you don't need to have all the sales skills. You'll do it the right way because you'll actually want to help the person. So that's why the most important part of the sale is the product. Because unless you're a malicious person, like most people here, was everyone here have some level of ethics on some level? Like no one here just wants to like take someone's last dollar, right? So then the only way to sell hard, because if you're going to close, you got to sell hard. The only way to sell hard is to believe through and through, balls to bones, when you look at yourself in the mirror at night. And this is what I talked about when Mike said at the very beginning, like what happens when people start hating on you. The only way that I've been able to stay where we're at in the gym industry, Mike knows the amount of hate that I get, right? The only way we've been able to do that is that I read the testimonials, the 1,000 of them that I have, of gyms who have gone to 6 figures, of the 100 gyms we've taken to 7 figures, right? Like I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that our product works. I also know that if you sign up for a gym, not everyone loses weight. And I'm willing to deal with that. I'm willing to give everyone the opportunity to change their life. So here's the tactics around this. Reread testimonials out loud daily in front of your sales team, all right? And if the business that you're working for doesn't have testimonials, find another business, all right? I'm serious. You're not gonna be able to close. Unless you're unless you're unethical, you're not gonna be able to close. So go find something that is a good product because there's plenty of them out there. All right, find a good product that you believe in. You just see tons of testimonials and then read those every day in front of the team. All right. Second, well, this is for the business owners, but fix everything you possibly can about the product. All right. And never blame a customer for lack of success. So as much as there are people who have not been successful who've used Gym Launch, I still take the fact that they were not successful and I think, what could I have done that would have made the next person like them successful? And you plug the hole. Right? If you do that over and over and over and over again, truly at the end of the day, when you look at yourself in the mirror, when no one else is watching, whether or not you truly put the effort forth that merits the price that you are charging, right? And only you can know that. And the thing is like the reason salespeople get beat up is because they don't put the work in and then it grates on their soul. And then eventually they burn out. They burn out not because they can't handle no, but because they can't handle how they feel about themselves, right? And so you have to put the work in to have the conviction because that's what's going to get you through it. If you've ever met someone who's a born again Christian, all right, they are convicted. They do not care how many people tell them to shove it because they are trying to save people's souls. It's real. Like if you let that hit you, it's real. You know what I mean? And if you can be a disciple of whatever the product that you have, an evangelist in the truest terms, then all the scripting stuff, it won't matter. Why are some of the best salespeople clients who had success? Because they believe in it. That's it. And the most convicted person will always win the fight, right? They'll always lead the dance because they have conviction in their skepticism. You have conviction in your product, and one of you is going to win out, right? And it's the question is whose belief is stronger? Because belief isn't binary. It's not do I believe or do I not believe? It's how much do I believe? To what extent do I believe? Would I bet $1,000 on this product? Would I bet $10,000 on this product? Would I sell my mother this product? Think about it. If you would sell your mother this product, how convicted are you? Probably very, and you will have no problem closing deals. And notice that I have a lower tone right now so that you listen to the words that I'm saying so that you think that they're important. In terms of the training schedule, 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week. My guys do world-class sales training. They text me in the morning before they wake up. They text me once they're done. They do the first 25 minutes, they read the script out loud. 5 minutes, they draw obstacles. I need to think about it. I need to talk to my partner. This is expensive. And then they talk, they draw the second half, right? As a closer, you got to talk, you got to listen, you got to train both skills, right? The talking's the tone and saying the words the right way in the right sequence without having to think about it. The listening is going over a recording and figuring out what went right, what went wrong, and what we're going to do next time. And saying it, drilling it as a team, marking it, and moving to the next one. That's the short answer.
I appreciate that. And I love the conviction, by the way. I can tell that this isn't scripted or anything, and you're just going like your full heart out there. So.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Hormozy. My YouTube is Alex Hormozy. My podcast, if you just type in Alex Hormozy. I've got a book.
Go show him some love. Show him some power.
Yes,
I
sir.
read it. If you guys want, I've got a book called alexsbook.com. It has 35 pages of obstacle overcomes in the appendix for each one of those obstacles. If you guys want to go grab that, I think there's a sales training in there for like $100 too. If you want to grab it, you can grab it. It's very good. I do it because I know it's so good. People buy other shit, so it's worth the money.
Hell yeah. Alex, thank you, bro. Appreciate
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.